Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility in the algorithm, and it's one of the best ways to support the channel. Without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of The Herd with Colin Cowherd talking about Russell Wilson. It's reported that he is going to be signing with the Steelers. I've been back and forth about this a lot. I've said I think it was a good move. It's a bad move. It's a good move. It's a bad move. It's definitely a good move from a football storyline perspective, because it's just interesting. The Steelers are a big organization, and it's, and a lot of people want to see them do well. So it's more interesting than him going, and not to say that this is a possibility, but for him to have gone to like the Panthers or, even the Falcons for that matter, even though the Falcons are a decent team and Kirk Cousins has just signed with the Falcons. It's just the Steelers are a more elevated franchise, or a more popular franchise. So there's just going to be more eyes on the Steelers. So from like an entertainment perspective, it's a great move. From a football perspective, it's a fascinating move, because I could see it going either way. I could see them being successful, and I think it's the right move from a comfortability standpoint for Russell Wilson, because I think he will be supported in Pittsburgh, specifically by the organization and the coaching staff, Mike Tomlin. That I think maybe if he went to another team, you don't necessarily have that guarantee, but I think you can guarantee that Mike Tomlin will support Russell Wilson and won't do what like Sean Payton did, right? So I think that's good from just for Russell Wilson's perspective. From a Steelers perspective, the question is, what are you trying to achieve with this move? Do you believe that you can win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson? I think the only way that's possible is if your roster is absolutely stacked, if you are the San Francisco 49ers. And even then it becomes kind of a question mark, because you need a legit elite offensive coordinator or offensive head coach, which I don't know if you necessarily have that. So I'm really interested to see what Colin's take is. I assume it's going to be positive, but I don't really know. So let's jump into it.
Mark Rodgers and Russell should have been patient. Listen, if there's a good fit, grab it. Kirk Cousins still out there. You don't know what the Steelers are going to do. What the Steelers were doing offensively didn't work, and this is the one we thought made the most sense. Russell Wilson now going to Pittsburgh on a league minimum. If he's not a top 10 quarterback, he's definitely a top 3 bargain in the NFL. 2 Super Bowls. Denver didn't work. He was asked to be the savior. They had to give up all the draft capital. They paid him a fortune, limiting what they could get. But Russell Wilson isn't a savior here. He will be an elevated piece at an important position. He will increase efficiency. We've seen him with a strong defensive coach. We've seen him with a run game before. We've seen him with nice weapons. He got to Super Bowls. Mike Tomlin is the CEO of this outfit. Russ is like a new vice president and director of sales. He'll make it more efficient and more productive. He'll bring in much needed experience, some maturity, get things lined up, the train back on the tracks. I mean, listen, the offensive bar is so low in Pittsburgh that if he's slightly above average, and I think he will be with these weapons, it'll feel exceptional. I mean, the Steelers only had, I'm not making this up, the last 2 years, Pittsburgh has had 25 touchdown passes. Russell Wilson had 26 by himself this year in Denver, and it was a rocky start. Kenny Pickett has a career 13 touchdown passes. Russell's disaster year in Denver, he had 16. The worst year of his career. So the Steelers have not been viable offensively for half a decade. Their best offense, this is the high mark, their best offense in the last half decade is 23rd. And this team keeps winning. Not winning Super Bowls, but they keep winning. They won 10 games last year with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. If you're still defending Kenny Pickett, he was healthy at the end of the year. And they're like, no, we'll go with a backup. And they were better with a backup. But that's what Mason Rudolph is, a very reliable.
Well, don't say defending the backup when you are Colin was super high on Kenny Pickett, said he's great, he's that dude, he's mature, he's ready to go. The Steelers all know him because he, went to Pittsburgh and all of this. So he was very high on Kenny Pickett. So don't act like anyone who was defending Kenny Pickett is absurd to do so when Colin was probably leading the public charge of support of Kenny Pickett. So let's, ease off the self-righteousness there, buddy.
Mature backup. And that's a great job. You make a lot of money doing that. Make 7 figures, be part of the team. 50-some quarterbacks play now annually. Nothing wrong with that gig at all. Great gig. Don't get beat up as much and you make a lot of money. Now, is this Russell Wilson to the Steelers? Does it feel like Stafford to the Rams? No, because we don't have Sean McVay here. Offensive genius. Does it feel like...
Even if you had Sean McVay there, it's still not. Matthew Stafford is an infinitely better quarterback than Russell Wilson.
Brady, the GOAT to the Bucs.
Obviously not.
No, we don't have Bruce Arians, an offensive coach here. We have a defensive coach and a defensive culture. But it's an upgrade, and it's not an arguable upgrade. Again, they went with their backup last year, and the starter was healthy. And if you don't think Russ is a top 12 quarterback, that's fine. Maybe he's not. But he is a great bargain. Basically, you get him for free. This is the opposite of Denver. He doesn't have to be the savior. He's not expensive. You didn't have to trade anything to get him. So this remains, in my opinion, a top 5 or 6 roster in the NFL, but the most important position is quarterback, and they aren't very good. They're near.
So, okay, the more I think about this, and I think Colin definitely does bring up some great points in terms of elevating the offense, it's not so much, and this is where it's tricky, because it was a combination between not having an offensive head coach, not having a good OC, and not having good quarterbacks. Right? That's like the deadly trio right there. Now bringing Russell Wilson, and they do have a new OC, doesn't automatically mean that they're just now going to have this elevated offense. Make no mistake, Russell Wilson, right, had the 26 touchdowns or whatever it was just himself, but that was with Sean Payton pulling the strings. Russell Wilson is a capable quarterback. I think if we weren't looking at Russell Wilson through the lens of him being a Hall of Fame quarterback, multiple, Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl win, like Russell Wilson was originally looked through this lens as, before Patrick Mahomes, right? He was essentially like the first Patrick Mahomes-esque person, this quarterback. And in modern times. And people saw that where he could run, he could throw, his mobility, he, seems very smart, great at the mic, no problems in the off season, off the field, just like what's appeared to be an all around great person, great team player, all of this. Then little by little that started to get, broken. That illusion started to kind of be seen through, whether it be his personality people didn't like, whether people questioned his leadership, people didn't really support him in the locker room, and when he left, people weren't necessarily giving them his high praises. Then his quarterback play kind of went down, and he just fell out of favor. And so we're looking at him still through this lens of like, he's not that good, or all he's done, he's this. But the truth is that he still obviously is a good quarterback. He's not a trash quarterback. He's not a second, third, fourth string quarterback. He is a starter in the NFL. I will take him over Baker Mayfield any day of the week. Any day of the week. No ifs, ands, or buts, and it's not even close. It's not even close to me. I wouldn't even have to think about it for a second. Unless I met, Russell Wilson and I realized, whoa, his personality is trash and he is just toxic in the locker room, which I don't think that's necessarily the case. Not to mention, I have to imagine he has been fully humbled at this point. He has to just fully understand, okay, I'm kind of hanging on by a thread here. So that's that about Russ. But in terms of what the Steelers are expecting to be able to do with Russell Wilson, he's better than Pickett. He's better than, the last 3 years of Ben Roethlisberger's career. He's better than Mason Rudolph. Right, he's better than whatever the other quarterback they had. The guy from the Chicago Bears, and then I think he's with the Bills now. Can't think of his name. But so he will be a step up than that. But Russell Wilson is not the guy who's like, okay, I'm here. I'm the offense. You got me here. I can make some magic. That's what Stafford can do. That's what obviously Tom Brady can do, right? Russell Wilson is an athlete. He's a good quarterback. I wouldn't say great, at least not right now. He's a good quarterback. He's smart. He's competent. He's not a spaz. We have lots of quarterbacks in the league that can do some great things, and then at any moment they just completely fall apart. And it's just like, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, right? Like there's quarterbacks in the league where if you're in a playoff game and there's a minute 30 to go, or just any game for that matter, it's a minute 30 to go, you have the ball, and you're genuinely like, I don't trust this quarterback to throw more than 15 yards. Like we felt that when we saw both Brock Purdy and Jordan Love, two up-and-coming quarterbacks in the playoffs when they both had the ball in key times, and you're just like, I don't know how you guys felt, but it was just like, oh my God, I don't know what we could expect really either of these quarterbacks to do right now because we haven't really seen it. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be able to push the ball down the field. He can take care of it. Joe Burrow can take care of it. And so you don't know. Russell Wilson, it's not to say that he's going to succeed in all of these situations. It's not to say that he doesn't throw interceptions, that he won't fumble and make a bad move, but you can trust he's not going to make that awful throw across his body, running across the field, like Jordan Love did, for instance, right? Like, that. He's not going to do that unless it's just he has to. This is the final play of the game, whatever. And that goes a long way. It goes a long way, especially in an organized, tight defense franchise, okay? This isn't Zach Wilson here, okay? This is Russell Wilson, get it? So you can trust this team. The defense is going to know, okay, if we keep these games close, we have a legit chance of winning. The defense over the last few years with the Steelers had the feeling of, our offense can't do anything. I don't know who the heck our quarterback is. My God, if we're going to win, it's all down to us. We have to hold these teams to like 10-0, otherwise we can't win, That's so much pressure, and it's so much work, and there was no long sustained drives, so the defense is just overworked, tired. They get resentful because they're saying, man, we're pulling our weight and you're not. Now that you have a Russell Wilson, that should be relieved to a degree. But, and this is the big caveat for me, which is what I've said before, is that when you bring in a Russell Wilson, whether he's being treated as a savior or not, as much as, say, the Tom Brady or the Matthew Stafford, or when he went to Denver, he still is. Because everyone's saying this is a step up. He is going to be better. This is going to work. They should be competitive in the AFC, at least in their division. They can make some moves, yada, 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 right? And if the moment they reach that resistance and it doesn't end up being that way, then it has the same potential to pop as it did in Denver. That it just ends up being a failure. That the fans are furious and saying, why the heck did you get Russell Wilson? We knew he was trash. We told you. It becomes one of those things where the fans are like, yeah, that's right. We got Russell Wilson. All right. Step up. And then if he fails, it's like, we told you Russell Wilson was bad. What the heck? This was such a dumb move. Why didn't you make a play for Kirk Cousins? Look how good he's playing with the Falcons. Look at Justin Fields now, wherever Justin Fields ends up. So it's got the potential to pop. And again, you need to really trust your OC. You need to really stack the offense. You need to build a 49ers level offense. The only difference is you don't have Kittle. You don't have Ayuk. You don't have Christian McCaffrey. It's like if the Steelers went all in and said, all right, we're getting T. Higgins, we're getting Saquon Barkley, and we're getting Russell Wilson, which I'm, again, not saying any of that was even necessarily possible, and we're getting a big OC, we're getting, I don't know, whoever, or we're firing Tomlin, we're getting Harbaugh, then you could say, okay, they're kind of making magic here. But when you keep Tomlin, you get an OC who's, I guess, technically a question mark / positive. It's too close, too hard to really know. And you get a Russell Wilson, it's just, it's all interesting and it's fascinating. And I told you at the top that it's fun to watch this all play out. It's more interesting to me to see this, but it's in no way guaranteed success. And I think if you were really going for it, because right now I see the Steelers as another similar team where, yeah, they could, make the playoffs, make a wild card, maybe depending on injuries or depending on how things unfold in the offseason, you could maybe win the division, maybe. But like, Are you beating the Chiefs in the playoffs? I don't see it. Are you beating CJ Stroud and the Texans in the playoffs? I don't see it. Are you beating the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen in the playoffs? I don't see it. I don't see it. So maybe depending on where you fall, you could maybe win one game, in the playoffs, and it's like one and done. Does that really matter? Do you care about that? For me, it's always go big or go home, go all in, get it done, make moves. If it, again, the way how the Rams won the Super Bowl was not just because they got Matthew Stafford, which was a huge deal, but they went out and got Von Miller. They went out and got OBJ. They did the things that needed to be done. The 49ers paid Debo. Okay, they went out and got Christian McCaffrey. Like, they did these moves, and because of it, they go to Super Bowls. They do the things that need to be done. That's why they're so competitive. The Steelers have stayed pat, and they're not competitive, okay? So this is a move, but it's like not a move. If you're in Pittsburgh, you can't be like, yes, finally, we are going. That's the difference, and you need that. And maybe they're going to continue to build. Maybe they're continuing to make moves, and you could be optimistic. I think you could be more encouraged than you were maybe, say, last season, or you were more encouraged now than you were a couple months ago. But, I think the Steelers still have a long way. But still a good move because it cost them effectively nothing. So if you are the Steelers, you would be silly not to at least try Russell Wilson, because if it doesn't work, then who cares? You're not losing anything. And if it ends up working, then victory. But the biggest issue is the biggest risk is really winning with him, but not winning enough. And now you're not drafting a new quarterback. You're not, players don't want to go there. Free agents don't want to play there. And now you're just wasting money and kind of wasting everyone's time. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. I read every single comment, so please let me know how you're feeling. I read all of them. Do you think Russell Wilson to the Steelers is a great sign? Do you think it's good for Russ? Do you think it's good for the Steelers? Do you think the Steelers should have done something different? Do you think Russ should have tried to go somewhere else? Let me know. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really, really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.